Islam Makhachev stamps himself in UFC history after becoming a two-weight division champion, beating JDM at UFC 322, leading to the question, has Islam Makhachev surpassed Khabib? And it seems like the answer to that question is very clear. Makhachev started his UFC career back in May of 2015, getting a first round stoppage in his UFC debut. However, the impact of his very next bout would stay with him for the rest of his professional career. On October 3rd, 2015, Islam Makhachev went against Adriano Martins and would go on to be stopped by an overhand that would give Islam his first and only professional loss. But despite this loss, Islam would go on to steadily build up his resume within the UFC, still training with the late Abdulmanap as well as Khabib. And after a short amount of time in the UFC, Islam already had notable names on his record and would go on to have his first title shot for the 155-pound title against Charles Oliveira. On October 22nd, Islam would place himself in the list of UFC champions by stopping Charles Oliveira by way of submission, becoming the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. However, some people online critiqued Islam Makhachev's title reign at 155. Despite him having the most title defenses in the entire division, some fans felt that there were question marks regarding his title campaign at 155. Islam had 4 fights, 2 against Volkanovski, fight against Dustin Poirier, and his last bout was against Moicano. Now, the common critique that people have against his lightweight campaign, that half of his title defenses were against a featherweight, who just so happened to also be considered a pound for pound at the time, and his second bout was a last minute replacement because Oliveira happened to get a cut during fight camp. And because Volk stepped in on short notice, it almost certainly played a major part in him getting stopped for the first time in the octagon. And then Islam went on to fight against Dustin Poirier. And I don't think anyone could deny that this is a great win for Islam's resume. And watching the fight back, Islam has actually improved on the feet, because for a decent portion of the fight, he was actually getting the better of Dustin Poirier. Also, to be fair, a lot of the success that many Dagestanis get whilst on the feet is only due to the fact that their opponents are so aware of the takedown threat that they probably lose a step or two when they're on the feet. However, Islam was able to get a finish late in the fight, securing his 3rd title defense in the lightweight division, and his last bout in the lightweight division was against Moicano. And I mean, it's still very much a decent win for what was meant to be a fight against Arman. So even though it's not the best win in the world, it's still very much a decent win in my opinion. Now, just comparing the lightweight career of Islam and Khabib, I mean, it's already not looking super great for Khabib. But I think it's important, before we talk about Khabib's UFC career, we talk about Khabib's impact on the sport of MMA. Now, you'd be hard pressed to find another fighter that has had more of an impact on the sport of MMA, with the only person that has had more of an impact being Conor McGregor, with both of them having the highest grossing fight in the history of the UFC. Now, back before either Islam or Khabib were professionals, when both of them were still kids, Khabib knew just how much potential Islam had.
You know, it's like what interesting? It was 2000, like 21 years ago. We're going to same school with Islam, and he was younger than me, like 3 years. And it was like in gym, they go to the one tournament in other city. He and my big brother Shamil, like they go like 15 people, only 2 guys become champion, Islam and Shamil. Okay, Shamil is a champion, I understand, but who are you? Who are you? He's like small guy, like 24 kilo, you know, it's like he come back with gold medal, you know, it's like since then, that time and now 20 years, this guy keep doing same
and winning.
And just looking over Khabib's career, after returning from injury setbacks, Khabib made a statement against Michael Johnson in 2016, submitting him in the 3rd round. And in late 2017, Khabib went against Edson Barboza and put on an incredibly dominant performance. And after 3 rounds, Khabib secured the victory, and then would eventually go on to win the title against Al Iaquinta in 2018, and then follow it up with the biggest fight in MMA history against Conor McGregor. And in the latter part of his career, Khabib went up against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. And after the passing of Khabib's father, he retired 29-0. Now, both Islam and Khabib have incredibly dominant lightweight careers. And if it was only just comparing lightweight careers, there could be arguments made for both sides. However, with Makhachev moving up to 170 and already beating JDM and is competing in one of the most stacked divisions in the entire UFC, I think it's clear to say that Makhachev stands above Khabib.